Hey everyone, and welcome back to P.U.G, that's Pickup Games, and welcome to the first actual review and tutorial. Second episode, and look, I already got an upgrade, this nice red. It's velvet technically, I asked for felt, but wife said that velvet would be better. I'm gonna go ahead and trust her because she's more into the arts and crafts than I am. I know, right? Exciting stuff, let's get into it. Today we're going to be looking at a personal favorite of mine, King of Tokyo. It's actually one of my favorites, ranks right up there with Arkham Horror. Along with King of Tokyo, we are going to be looking at the Power Up expansion, because if you do buy the base game, I'm going to 100% recommend that you get the Power Up expansion with it, and I'll explain why later on, but let's get to it and take a look at what we have in here. My edition is slightly older than what you'd see on Amazon, so some of the characters have been replaced. Some of the artwork has also been replaced if you buy one of the newer editions. Notably, the Cyber Bunny right here has been replaced by a Robot Cat. The Alienoid has been replaced by the Space Penguin, which is kind of odd because the Space Penguin was actually originally a promo for this game, one that I didn't get my hands on and I really wanted. So I am going to have to buy the newer edition eventually just to get that Space Penguin. But let's take a look at what we got inside. First, we have the board. As you can see, it's rather simple design because the game itself is rather simple in design. The board tells you pretty much all you need to know with a great bit of the rules that are actually built into the game of the board. But let's look at different aspects of that real quick. First, we have the fact that the board is actually split up to let you know how many players you're playing. If you're playing 1 to 4 players, you're going to be only using Tokyo City. If you're playing 5 to 6, you'll also be using Tokyo Bay. We'll go into that whenever we go over the rules and whatnot. If you look in this corner, you're going to go ahead and see the different aspects of being in Tokyo. Whenever you first enter Tokyo, you get 1 victory point at the beginning of your turn. If you're still in Tokyo, you get 2 victory points. And while you're in Tokyo, you cannot heal. Next, let's look at the dice. So, we have the black base dice. Then we also have these green extra dice. The black base dice are going to be what you normally use. The green extra dice are going to be given to you via power-up cards. Normally, though, you're going to be rolling 6 of these base dice. Let's go over what is each on the dice face. You have 1 victory point, 2 victory point, 3 victory point, heal, energy gather, and wound. More on that whenever we go into the rules. Next up, we have these little energy cubes, which are really easy to lose when you have green carpet, which I have. I recommend not living in a house with green carpet if you plan on playing this game as much as I do. After that, we have the tokens, which will include the poison, the smoke, the mimic, and the shrink tokens, which will be used again with your power cards that we'll go over with the power cards, and we'll talk about those in the rules. Next, we have the purchase deck, which we're using to purchase various power-ups throughout the game. This includes both discard effects and keep effects. Here in the corner, you'll see the cost of the card, then down here is the effects of the card. Hopefully you know how to read because, well, reading really makes the games easier, and I recommend knowing how to read before playing a board game. Now, keep effects are ongoing effects that last throughout the game and are only discarded via different card effects or monster effects. Discard effects are used immediately. You discard the card and gain that effect. Finally, we're going to be going over the different characters that you can play as and their tokens. First, we have Gigasaur, who is most definitely not Godzilla in the least. I have no clue what you're talking about. Next, we have the Kraken, who actually isn't Cthulhu, as Cthulhu was released later on as an expansion monster, which I'll be playing this coming Saturday's recording, though it is obviously has a great deal of inspiration from Cthulhu based off of its evolution cards, and evolution cards will be explained in just a moment. That and the King of Tokyo Dark Edition was released with a much more mature theme, and the Kraken had a nearly completely different model change to look more like a traditional Kraken and less like this. This was usually my go-to character whenever I played. After that, we have the Alienoid, who is rather awesome looking. Alien monster equipped with spinal cord and all. I mean, you take a look in there. There we go. Here's spinal cord. Either way. My personal least favorite is the King. I'm just not a fan of King Kong and things that resemble King Kong and stuff like that. So obviously who I was rooting for during Godzilla vs. King Kong. This monkey is much cooler than King Kong though because he has cybernetic enhancements. Look at that little red Kano eye that he has there. After that we have the Cyber Bunny. An evil bunny controlling a mecha suit. As I said, this was replaced by the RoboCat in the newer release. I personally prefer the Cyber Bunny because some of the cards in the power-up purchase deck actually shows him, and he looks like an evil mastermind. I love him. He's one of the cooler ones, in my opinion. Big pink robot suit. He's really cool. This is my second favorite next to the Kraken, before Cthulhu came out that is, but he is really cool. The Mecha Dragon, he resembles a lot like Deathwing to me from World of Warcraft. He's just really cool looking, robot dragon, volcano, very destructive. I love the artwork on this character card. It looks really cool. Luckily he was not replaced in the newer edition, so he also has some really cool evolutions, but again we'll go into the evolutions in a moment. Finally, from the powered up expansion, we have Pentagon, a giant friggin' panda. Nothing really else to say about him other than he's a giant freaking panda. I mean, look at his bamboo stick and everything, all wacky with it. I love him. He's pretty cool. He has some pretty cool power-ups too. Let's take a look at the character card specifically. So, if you notice that you have two wheels involved on it, I understand that my lighting is not the best just yet, so do bear with me. Hopefully we can see better. Okay, as you can see the wheel is turning. You start off with 10 life points. You can go up to 12 if you have power-up cards, and you go down to 0 which you die. Then we have up here is the victory points. They start off at 0, and you gain victory points throughout the game up to 20. The way that you win the game is either A, killing all the other monsters and reducing them down to 0, or getting 20 victory points. However, you have to survive your turn. So if you get 20 victory points and die in that turn, you don't win. So make sure that you can survive your turn whenever you're getting your victory points. Now, since we're going to be playing up with the powered up expansion, which is generally only about $16, you really should get it. We're also going to be gathering up the evolution cards. The reason I recommend this expansion so heavily is because it makes each character unique. With the expansion, the characters are no longer just a cardboard representation, but actually have unique powers and abilities that are themed for them, such as this one for Cyber Bunny. He who dies with the most toys wins. Every time you get a keep card, you gain a victory point. That's pretty cool. The way that you gain evolution cards, though, in the gameplay is whenever you're rolling your dice, if you ever get 3 hearts, you already get to resolve the 3 hearts. That means you get to heal for 3, but you also get to draw the top card of your evolution deck and keep it a secret from everyone else. The thing about the purchase deck is that everybody knows what you're going to have and the possibilities of like when it's going to be utilized and whatnot right away, so they know the strategy that's going on. This adds a layer of different strategy because a lot of these cards can really mess with your opponents. One of the ones for the Panda allow you to instantly take Tokyo and deal 2 damage to everybody. The Mecha Dragon ends up dealing massive damage to other people. It really adds a different layer to the game. Let's move on to setup and gameplay. Alright, setup is simple. First, you'll be gathering up your character card and a standee. For this, I'm going to be using Mecha Dragon, Gigazor, and the Kraken. Drop all your energy cubes somewhere off to the side, but not on the edge of the table, especially if you have the green carpet that I have. Seriously, you're never going to find them. Eventually your kid's going to eat them. They're going to become part of the jungle. Just be careful with these little things. They're like little tiny jello cubes, okay? Then you're going to place the power-up deck next to the board, and you're going to draw the top 3 cards. 1, 2, and 3. Make sure that you also have the evolution deck that is for your character if you are playing with the powered up expansion. Again, only $16, 100% recommended. Make sure the decks are all shuffled and set your life points to 10 and your victory points to 0. The turn order is as follows. First, you roll the dice. Second, you resolve the dice. Third, you purchase your cards. Fourth, you end your turn. Whenever you're rolling dice, you're allowed to have 3 rerolls unless otherwise specified. Meaning you're allowed to roll, choose however many you want to keep, roll again, choose however you want to keep, and then roll again. And then you stick with those results and you resolve at hand. Next, you need to worry about what the results can mean. 1, 2, 3, heart, energy, or wound. The way you score points in this game is a few different ways. You can buy purchase cards that will allow you to just gather points that way. You can enter and stay in Tokyo, or you can resolve your dice. If you roll 3 of a kind on your dice, you gain that many points. So if you roll 3 ones, you gain 1 point. However, for each one that you roll after that, you gain an additional point. So if you rolled 5 ones, you would gain 1 point for the 3, then another point, and then another point, equaling 3 points. So whenever it comes to the resolution phase, you've gained 3 points. For each lightning bolt or energy gather you roll, you get to take one of these little lost cubes that you're going to lose one day. For each heart that you roll, you get to heal 1 wound as long as you are not in Tokyo. Remember, the board says that if you are in Tokyo, you cannot heal. And remember, if you roll 3 hearts in a single turn, though, you do gain an evolution card. And you still get to resolve the heart, so meaning you get to heal for 3. You take a lot of damage in this game, so healing is very important. The way you get dealt damage is, of course, through purchase cards or through the wounds. Whenever you're dealing a wound, you deal a wound to whatever you are in the opposite of. So if you are outside of Tokyo, you deal damage to anybody inside of Tokyo. If you are inside of Tokyo, you damage anybody outside of Tokyo. Got it? It's pretty simple. Now, I know what you're thinking. First off, nobody's entered Tokyo yet. How do we get into Tokyo? Second, you're like, hold on a minute. All the cards shifted, the board shifted around, some of the energy cubes are missing. Well, that's because I forgot to turn the mic on whenever I recorded the second half of this video, so now I'm having to re-record the second half of the video, and I doubt I got everything perfect. I tried to get it as close as I could, and hopefully we don't mind that too much. So, now, let's worry about getting into Tokyo instead. The first player to roll a wound is going to be able to enter Tokyo. Whenever you roll the wound and you are the first person to get it, you enter Tokyo, you get the 1 point. If you make it back to your turn, you get 2 points. And remember, while you're inside of Tokyo, you are unable to heal. So, if you don't want to die, you're going to have to eventually yield Tokyo. What is yielding Tokyo? Well, anybody that's on the outside of Tokyo can deal damage to you. Whenever you get dealt damage, you have the option to back out of Tokyo, and the person that did damage you moves into Tokyo, thus getting a victory point, and you're allowed to lick your wounds on your turn. Let's go through a full 3-player turn to show you exactly how the game is played. Of course, we'll be using some dice manipulations to show all the aspects of the game. First up, Gigazor. His first roll is 1/1, 2 energy, and 2 heart. He sets aside the 2 1/1s and the 2 energy so that he can collect those, and then he's going to re-roll the 2 hearts because he does not need to heal just yet. He has taken no damage. Whenever he rolls, he is going to get a 1 and a heart. So now he's going to keep the 1 and he's going to want to re-roll this heart right here. Re-rolling, sadly, all he gets is a 3. So that means this isn't going to do anything. He is allowed to resolve the dice in the order that he wishes to resolve them. So first he is going to score his first victory point. He's rolled 3 once, so that means that he gets 1 victory point. So we are going to go ahead and up his victory total by 1. And then he's able to get 2 of these little cubes that, as I say, you are bound to lose some of. I know it looks like I lost some, but remember, my whole battery thing ran out and I'm an idiot. So this is going to go over to his section of the board. Now he has the option to purchase cards. So he can utilize 2 of these energy cards to pick up this 2-cost card, solar powered. It's a keep card. At the end of your turn, you gain 1 energy if you have no energy. So he's going to buy that. As soon as a card is bought, a new card is placed on the field. His turn ends, and his keep card now resolves, stating that he gains 1 energy. Up next is the Mecha Dragon. The Mecha Dragon's role is wound, wound, heart, heart, energy gather 1. He's going to want to enter Tokyo, so he's going to keep the 1 wound. He doesn't need 2. He wants to try to evolve, so he's going to take the 2 heart even though he isn't injured. And thus he's going to re-roll the remaining dice. Upon his reroll, he gets a heart, a 1, and a 2. So he's going to take the heart. That means that he is going to be able to evolve at the end of his turn, and he's going to reroll the 1 and a 2. Rerolling, he gathers 1 energy and deals another wound. However, there's nobody to deal wounds to, so he still just is going to enter Tokyo, and thus that wound is wasted. Again, he's able to resolve in the order that he wishes to resolve. So first we're going to resolve the evolution, because some evolutions can give you benefits for Enter Tokyo. His evolution is Mecha Blast. Discard this evolution card to deal 2 extra damage. So that means at one time he can discard this card whenever he hits somebody to deal 2 extra damage. That is good for closing out a kill on somebody. Now that he's dealt 1 wound and there's nobody in Tokyo, he's going to move into Tokyo, and his victory points increase by 1. Remember though, while he's in Tokyo, he cannot heal. Next up is the Kraken's turn. On the Kraken's turn, he rolls wound, 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 energy, heart. Well, he wants to deal damage to the Mecha Dragon, so he's going to go ahead and keep the 4 wounds, and he's going to keep the energy, because, hey, having energy is always good. Rerolling the final die will give him another energy. So now he gets to choose the resolution phase. He's going to take his 2 energy, place them near his card. Then he's going to deal 4 wounds to the Mecha Dragon. Since he is outside of Tokyo, he deals damage to anybody inside of Tokyo, meaning the Mecha Dragon. So he gets dealt 4 damage. That's nearly half of his life total. Being lowered down to 6, he chooses to back out of Tokyo, and thus allow the Kraken to enter Tokyo. The Kraken then gains 1 victory point for entering Tokyo. Finishing the resolution, he gains 2 energy cubes. Note that if there was 5 to 6 players, it would only take 1 damage for somebody else to enter Tokyo. They could enter at Tokyo Bay. Tokyo Bay gains all the benefits and pitfalls of Tokyo, meaning that whenever you enter, you gain 1 point. If you stay until your next turn, you gain 2 points, and you cannot heal. Also, any damage that is dealt from the outside gets dealt to everybody in it, so both Tokyo and Tokyo Bay. And anybody in Tokyo or Tokyo Bay deals damage to everybody outside of the board. It only takes 1 wound to enter back into the board if this space is available. So for purposes, we're going to add Panda Kai and Cyber Bunny into the mix, and we're going to say that it is Panda Kai's turn now. On Panda Kai's resolution, he's going to roll wound 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and so he's going to resolve it in the order that he chooses to. First, he's going to choose to deal the wound, meaning everybody within Tokyo is going to take 1 wound. The Kraken takes 1 wound, thus lowering his health total down to 9. He chooses not to yield. However, since Tokyo Bay is available, Panda Kai is able to move into Tokyo Bay and gain 1 point. In addition to the 1 point, he resolves his other score, which is 3 threes equals 3 points, plus 2 more, so that's 1 extra point, and then another extra point. So that's 6 total points for this turn. And that is pretty much how the game is played in total. This would continue the resolution phases until either all the monsters are knocked out, leaving only one survivor, or one person reaches 20 total points. Both outcomes are pretty common. There's a lot of healing in this deck. There's a lot of healing through the dice. There's a lot of evolution mechanics that boost your points really fast. And a lot of these cards will also boost your points really fast. This card right here can even revive you after you die. So there's a whole bunch of ways to get back into the game and stay in the game, even though there seems like there would be a lot of damage going out. As for ratings, well, without the powered up expansion, this is still a very solid game. However, it's a very basic game. Each character is only the cardboard cutout that it has. It's very beautiful artwork, and as I said, I prefer the model that I have versus the one that's available on Amazon right now. They changed a lot of the artwork. Pentagon looks very different in the new artwork. I'm not a huge fan of his new model. They also got rid of the Cyber Bunny and turned him into a robot cat. I prefer the Cyber Bunny. I actually prefer the Alienoid over the Space Penguin, despite how much I love penguins, but I think the Alienoid looks really cool, and the Space Penguin looks a little lazy in design, personally. But even with just the base game, I would give the game a solid 7 out of 10. However, with the powered up expansion, adding in all the different mechanics for the different characters, it really adds a different layer of strategy. Because something like Mecha Blast, right here, remember, people don't know that you have this. This is a hidden card. It's not like the purchase deck where they constantly know what's going on. This is hidden. So this is a layer of strategy that isn't available in the base game. And you can really close somebody out that was being a little too greedy. Or let's say if Mecha Dragon moves into Tokyo and he just wants to deal a massive damage to everyone, he can do that. The Kraken has a lot of really cool abilities. As I said, he's really modeled after Cthulhu, and which is odd because they did later on release Cthulhu as a character, and so a lot of these don't seem like they'd fit a Kraken very well and really fit Cthulhu more. I will most likely be playing a little bit of the Kraken on the Saturday recording, so you'll probably see some of his evolutions. I will be playing Cthulhu. I also did pick up the Anubis expansion as well. The monster expansion packs do add a few more mechanics. Cthulhu adding in Cultist, and then also Madness tokens, which he has. Anubis actually adds a whole other deck, which is a curse deck that can affect the gameplay, and also the Fate die, which is how you utilize the curse deck, as well as his own evolutions and Cthulhu's own evolutions. They also do have a follow-up game called King of New York, which I prefer King of Tokyo over King of New York. King of New York adds a new layer of game with buildings and civilians and whatnot. I just don't think the game needed that layer. I think this is a really fun family game, something you can just pick up and play and just toss dice, have good conversations with. You don't really have to actually concentrate too much on the game itself. You have to just play and enjoy it. Whereas King of New York, I feel like there's a lot more involved, which I know is kind of an odd thing to say, like, oh, this game has too much to it. No, that's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm just saying this is a game that I prefer to play just to have fun. It's kind of like a turn your brain off and just roll dice style thing. However, let me know what you think, if you've played it, if you enjoy it, or if you want to see more games like this. See you next time. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and if you want to help me open my own store, check out the link in the description below. Thank you guys, and I'll see you around. I'm not Godzilla either.